Students, in the previous class we have seen that the displacement of a mass block in a single degree of freedom system which is harmonically excited, it can be obtained as this way. Okay, so x we said was equal to x0 minus delta st, where delta st was the displacement when static forcing is applied. So it was expression of delta st was f0 by k, right? So this is delta st which represents the displacement in static condition. So delta st divided by 1 minus omega by omega n square, where omega is the frequency of applied forcing and omega n is the natural frequency. So this was the expression. So the first term in that expression, which was having this time dependence as cosine omega t. The other term was x dot 0 divided by omega n into sine of omega n t plus delta st divided by 1 minus omega by omega n square into cosine of omega t, where omega is the frequency of applied forcing, and as we already have discussed that this is the part which is coming because of that particular integral, and it is oscillating with the frequency equal to omega, whereas this is the part which is oscillating with the frequency equal to omega n, right? Now we are going to consider that condition where omega is exactly equal to omega n. In the previous class we have seen what happens when omega is smaller than omega n, and we also have seen what happens when omega is greater than omega n. Now when omega is greater than omega n, or when omega is smaller than omega n, this was the response of the amplitude of particular integral that we have observed in the previous class. So this is amplitude of particular integral divided by delta st or xst, whatever you prefer calling it. Okay, so it started from 1 when omega by omega n was equal to 0, right? So for omega by omega n 0, which means that omega 0, which essentially means that it is a static forcing. So amplitude of particular integral is the static forcing amplitude itself, and there is no any complementary solution at that time, right? So that is completely absent. Omega n, so there won't be any vibrations with omega nt. So the first part, this part will be absent at that time. Okay, now as you go on increasing omega by omega n, what happens is that this amplitude of the particular integral keeps on building up till the time you hit over here, which is this one value, which is omega by omega n. For amplitude, for this value when omega by omega n equal to 1, amplitude shoots to infinity. Then again it falls down from infinity, and as you go on increasing the ratio, this ratio omega by omega n, even further, then what you see is it slowly goes to 0. Okay, with very large omega by omega n, amplitude goes down to 0. Okay, now we are going to consider that case, which is this case, which is a very peculiar case where omega by equal to omega n, and this is called as resonance. Okay, where frequency of external forcing is exactly equal to natural frequency. If you decide to apply a forcing, harmonic forcing on a system whose frequency of excitation is exactly equal to the system's natural frequency, then what you observe is called as a resonance. Okay, what does it mean is that, see, if you put omega by omega equal to omega n, then omega by omega n will be equal to 1, and this denominator will be equal to 0, which essentially means that this will be equal to infinity, which essentially shows you that this is what x is going to go to infinity. There will be one more infinity term coming from here and here, right? So x is going to go to infinity, which essentially means that whatever be the amplitude, you haven't even talked about amplitude of f0, whatever be the amplitude of the forcing, however small it can be, still this response x, that is the displacement of mass, is going to build up to infinity. Now let's try to have a close look at this expression once again. Okay, and let's try to kind of write it down specifically for omega equal to omega n. Okay, so what we'll be doing is I'll be kind of rewriting this equation in a slightly different fashion. Okay, let me write it down in this way. So it will be x0 cosine omega nt plus x dot 0 by omega n sine omega nt plus delta st divided by 1 minus omega by omega n square into cosine of omega nt minus cosine of it's cosine of omega t minus cosine of omega nt. Okay, so it is the same expression, only thing is that this particular term I have kind of taken it out from here and I've combined it with this term. Okay, and hence I've obtained this expression, and now you will be able to appreciate that this is the culprit, okay, which is going to shoot up the response to infinity. Okay, now what is going to happen, let's try to see this term t3. Let me name this term t3. Okay, let's try to look at the term t3 as omega reaches to omega n. What t3 would look like? Okay, so you have this delta st which remains as is. Okay, this will be equal to omega n, this is already equal to omega n, so it is cosine omega nt minus cosine omega nt, which is 0, divided by this 1 minus omega by omega n, which is again this is equal to 0, so 0 by 0. Okay, so how do we evaluate such kind of conditions where you have 0 by 0 appearing? So what we'll be doing is we'll be taking the derivative of the numerator with respect to dw, and we'll also be taking the derivative of the denominator, and then we'll be evaluating these individual terms as omega tends to omega n. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Okay, we'll be differentiating the numerator and then evaluating that numerator as omega tends to omega n, and similarly we'll be differentiating the denominator and evaluating that denominator as omega tends to omega n. Okay, so what is this thing? D by dw of numerator. Okay, you have to differentiate the numerator with respect to omega. You don't have to differentiate it with this with respect to t or omega n. Okay, so if I do so, then what I'll get is minus t sine of omega t. Okay, obviously this delta st is there, but I have not written it over here, so I'm kind of considering this one. Okay, and what is d by dw of denominator? Okay, you have to differentiate this term with respect to omega. Okay, so it will be minus 1 over omega n square into 2 omega. Okay, and now what you will be doing is you will be evaluating this term as well as this term as limit omega tends to omega n. So when in the limiting condition, when limit omega tends to omega n, you can say that this is omega nt, and similarly this will become minus 2 over omega n. Okay, so what you have obtained t3. Now how does it look like when omega tends to omega n? It looks like this: delta st into minus t sine omega nt divided by minus 2 over omega n. Minus sign has gone, and it's equal to delta st omega n by 2 into t sine omega nt. Therefore entire x, if you try to see to it, how it would look like, it will be like this: x0 cosine omega nt plus x dot 0 by omega n sine omega nt plus delta st omega n by 2 sine of omega n t. Okay. Now you already know that this is the oscillatory one. It is pretty clear to us, right? This is the oscillatory response. Okay, with this being the circular frequency of that oscillation. And now if you look at this, it has got two components into it. One component is this, which is the sine function. Okay, that is pretty fine. Okay, so it's a sine function with omega and circular frequency, and multiplied to that sine function is this amplitude, and amplitude has got this t sitting into it, which essentially means that the amplitude of this sine function increases with increasing time. So you have time axis here. So with increasing time, amplitude of the sine function increases, which is like this, right? So this is the result of getting this t multiplied over here. Okay, now this is what is the t3 term, and this is the result of t1 and t2. Okay, so essentially combination of these two is what is going to be the response of the system. Okay, so which means that it is not going to go to infinity right in the beginning. Okay, it starts from finite value, which is a summation of this one and this one. Okay, this is always finite, this is oscillatory one and always finite, whereas this starts from a very small value and it goes on building up. Initially it is 0 almost, and it goes on building up with increasing time, and after certain time it will really be too large for the system to bear that much amount of displacement, and hence ideally when will this go to infinity? It will go to infinity when time will be equal to infinity. For finite time this will also be finite, but it will be very large, but you cannot specify what is in the generic sense what is the amplitude. Okay, so it is function of time. Essentially the displacement is function of time, and it increases with the increasing time, and at certain time it can be really far too much for the system to bear. Okay, there is one very typical example, okay, which you might have seen already somewhere. There was one bridge. Okay, in 1940s this accident has happened. Okay, there was this bridge named as Tacoma, I don't remember that exactly. What I'll do is I'll give you that description link. But that was one bridge, okay, which was, unfortunately what happened was that there was a certain wind load which was coming onto that bridge, and that wind load resulted into a frequency which was exactly matching with one of the natural frequencies of the bridge. Okay, we'll be seeing very soon that system which has got more than 1 degrees of freedom has got more than one natural frequencies. Okay, now in same thing happened in case of bridge, that it was having multiple natural frequencies, and one of its natural frequencies matched exactly with the frequency of the wind which was blowing onto it. And when this match happened, then this was the result. Okay, and with the increasing time the displacement of that bridge went on increasing, and after around an hour or so that displacement was so large that it resulted into other failure mechanisms, and that those failure mechanisms triggered the entire failure of that bridge. Okay, and the entire bridge collapsed, and that was merely because of the resonance. This is one of the very popular examples giving for the which are given for this resonance, that is the strength of the resonance, or in order to ensure, or in order to tell students that how disastrous that resonance condition can be. Okay, so what we do is we generally, while designing any system which is going to have dynamic loading, we ensure that the frequencies which are coming onto the system are not nearby the resonant frequencies, that is the natural frequencies of that system. Okay, so always you have to ensure that omega is away from omega n. Omega doesn't exactly having omega equal to omega n exactly is completely a disaster. even you should not be kind of having omega nearby omega n. Try to have certain separation between omega and omega n. If you do so, what will happen is that you will be lying away from this resonance condition. Okay, this is the condition which is that of the resonance. So you design your system away from it. Okay, ensure that this displacement is not that large. Okay, and hence your system or whatever mechanism or whatever design that you are having, that design sustains such kind of loading. Okay, so this is the story for of the resonance from the perspective of this course. And now what we are going to do is we are going to stop over here for today, and from the next class, in the next class, what we are going to see is we are going to see what will happen when damping is inserted into it. Right now we have seen all this for xi equal to 0. Okay, what will happen when xi is not equal to 0 is something that we'll be seeing in the next class. Okay, thank you.